Okay, so we look at 7.2, dealing with circles. Okay, so this one here, we look at this guy. This guy is Archimedes, where he worked out the formula for area of a circle by inscribing and circumscribing polygons with increasing number of sides. So what happens is this is the circumference. That's why we don't call it the perimeter. And then what's inside is also called the area. So in order to find the circumference, we need to use this formula. So how they find out about this is that they use the distance. For example, they draw a circle and then they draw from the middle to the side. So what they found out is that there is a certain ratio, means there's a fixed ratio. For example, if I tell you that um, the circumference is about 3 times the diameter, so there's always a certain ratio. So every now and then they make it more and more accurate. So they found out that it is fixed towards this number 3.141592654 and continues for a very, very long time. So that's what they call pi. So pi is actually not like something that came out of nowhere. It is actually the ratio between the diameter and the circumference. It means that the diameter is about 3 times, and the circumference is about 3 times the diameter. So that is what you call pi. The 3 is what we call the pi. Okay, pi is a ratio or the comparison between the circumference and the diameter. So we found out about that, and we actually found out that this pi can be used to also find the area. Okay, so first we remember that outside here is called pi d. So a lot of people use this formula, but questions doesn't really ask you to use it this way because most of the time they give you the radius, not the diameter. So instead of using this formula, we simplify it to become this 2 pi r, which is more frequently used because the questions normally give you the radius, not the diameter. If you want to use pi d, you can. Means you get the radius, multiply by 2, then that's the diameter. Because 2 radii means 2 radiuses, is equals to 1 diameter. You can see this is like a bicycle. So this radius extends this side, and this becomes the diameter of the circle. So you can use 2 pi r, where r is the radius, to find circumference, means outside of the circle. Means if you're running around the circle, like perimeter. So circumference is the perimeter for a circle. And then we used to find the area. So what happens is that they drew a circle and then they cut them out into these pieces here. Okay. So what happens is that once they cut it out, they actually figure out that the height here is the radius, and then the length here is half of 2 pi r. So they found out the formula to calculate the area is actually they just sort of make it into like a rectangle. So actually this one here, if you just cut it to even smaller pieces, you arrange the pizza pieces like really, really small, means we cut it even smaller than this. When you arrange it, you can actually see a rough rectangle or rough parallelogram that looks like this. So this one here, you can see that, oh yeah, you can see here is like rounded, rounded, rounded. But if you zoom out even more, you can actually see that it's more like a rectangle from far. So from near, maybe you can see that it is like, oh yeah, it's not really a rectangle. But eventually, if you use this formula, which is this one here, you can see. Okay, wait, let me just highlight it for you. Why they use this formula? It is not important to know why, but I like that you have the information. So we count on 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 pizza pieces here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 pieces. But you can see this one here. This one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now you have 6 of these sides, which is half of the circumference. 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is the one that we are looking for. So one full circle is 2 pi r. Half of a circle is pi r. So this one multiplied by the height, because this is radius. This is also radius until here. So the height is a radius. So we multiply it, then we can find out that area of a circle is 2 pi r squared. So this is the formula for area of circle, pi r squared, and then circumference of a circle is 2 pi r. Just highlight it here. So you can use pi d, but that I wouldn't recommend because it's not usable most of the time. Sometimes you can use it, sometimes you cannot. So it's best to remember 2 pi r. So if they give you the diameter, you just divide it by 2 to find r. So half of a diameter is equals to the radius. Let's look at the work example. Following circles calculate the circumference and the area. Give each answer to 3 significant figures. So let's look at this one. Circumference, we can use pi d, but I wouldn't recommend. I would say that I'll find the radius, which is 4, then it's 2 pi 4. So 2 pi 4, then it's easier, then I can get the answer. But it's here. So if you use pi d, it's the same answer. Then pi r squared. Because why I don't want to use pi d? Because here I need to remember 2 different type of formula. Because this one is diameter, this one is radius. I prefer to change this to 2 pi r, then this one is pi r squared. So I just have to remember one r, not r and d. Okay, so this one, we use pi r squared to find the area. Same thing for this one. Circumference, you can use pi d or you can use 2 pi r because they just multiply the radius by 2, then you find out the diameter, then you can see pi d is 3.14, 31.4. Then area is pi r squared, which is 5 squared. So if you only have r, then the mistakes happen in the less frequencies. Okay, so let's look at this one here. So they ask you is like a harder question where you need to find out the area of the yellow area. So you need to find area of triangle minus the area of the circle. So this one is like a critical thinking question, which is quite easy. So you just need to use the area of the triangle. Because area of triangle is the whole thing, and then minus away the circle, then you can get the area of the yellow place.